get the lighting correct, but I'm going to be using a presentation. Let me share that with you now. And just to also, if anyone's not familiar with Zoom, that you can see at the bottom of the screen, there's an icon with a smiley face that says reactions. Feel free to use that. Feel free to also use the chat if you have any comments or questions. I might not come to them immediately, but we'll come back to them. And I don't know if you saw right at the beginning of the chat, if you scroll to the top, there is a website there and a code. If you are worried about data and you can't do that, not to worry, but it is a nice tool that I'd like us to use. It just allows you to type in some reactions and to make it a little bit more interactive. Oh, hi, Marge. Yes. Okay, let me share my screen now with everybody. Okay. Okay, so everybody should be able to see this menti.com, and you enter the code 72951800. You can do that on whatever device you're on, or perhaps if you're using your laptop, you maybe want to do that on your cell phone. We will come back to that. But yes, I thought it's a nice interactive tool, and even if you can't share your screen or have your camera on, you can still contribute in this way. So now let me just open the, sorry, just trying to make space on my laptop for everything. Okay. So yes, welcome to everybody, to all the current and past Hatfield Montessori preschool parents, teachers, caregivers, friends of Hatfield, and I'm not sure if there are any potential future parents in our Zoom room, but if you're here, then welcome. Okay, yes, I am a Hatfield Montessori parent as well as a counselling psychologist. And this is not my own content. This is the work of 50, 60 years of many psychologists and various specialists that have studied attachment, as well as certain specific authors that have devised this circle of security parenting intervention. So I will give you the resources that you can go and do some of your own reading and further viewing if you like. Tonight will just be a very brief introduction, especially since it's already 15:15. Okay, so if you haven't already, please go to menti.com and enter the code 72951800. Sorry, I'm just seeing, how do I still see? Okay, Zoom, and I'm not sure if I can still see the chat there. So Sean, maybe if things come up in the chat, you can flag that for me, because I'm not sure how I do that. Okay. So,
hello, I'd like to introduce you to Circles.
I actually want to
a relationship program for caregivers.
Okay, so just before we begin, I'm not sure how many of you have managed to go to menti.com, but if you have, right, then just to think back, parents, caregivers, teachers, grandparents, whoever might be here, to think, how are you currently experiencing parenting and caregiving? How are you feeling about your skills? And that might be something that changes on a daily or weekly basis. So maybe just, in one word, but I think you do have more words if you'd like, if you can quickly type in and share those answers, and we can get a sense of how people are doing. Okay, I see the chat. Oh, the code on menti.com, Dorcas, it just allows you to access my page here so that you can then give us an answer about how are you feeling about your parenting and caregiving skills at the moment. So we have one, okay, that's great. Can we have some more? How are people feeling? If it's easier for you to just put that in the Zoom chat, you can also do that. I see now that it pops up for me, so that's great. So one word in Zoom chat or on Menti. Okay, happy, that's awesome. Do we have any more coming through? In the chat, challenging. Yes, definitely. Terrible. Yes. And I imagine that you can be feeling okay and happy 1 minute and terrible the next. Dynamic, yes, it's up and down. And okay, great, happy, challenging, okay, dynamic. Yes. Yes, there's a lot of healing that happens through parenting. Comfortable, great. And I guess we're also going to touch just very, very briefly on how, the parenting we received also impacts on the parenting that we give. And so that can also be healing for us as parents. Comfortable, great. Give a few more seconds if anyone else would like to contribute. Up and down, totally up and down. I think all of this is completely understandable. If it were perfect all the time, then I'd be worried about your ability to have an accurate perception. Yes. Okay, this is definitely the place to think about understanding our children and their needs. Always learning, absolutely. Yes, I did this training for the Circle of Security training a very long, about 10 years ago. And I only became a parent 2.5 years ago. So it's also interesting. Yeah, I've been a psychologist much longer than I've been a parent. And let me tell you, a psychology degree does not necessarily help. Okay. You're welcome to continue to give your answers there or to type any other messages or comments in the chat and in the Menti. We will come back to the Menti later. So even if you are still signing up or haven't joined yet, please feel free to do so and to find those details in the chat if you're just logging on. Okay, I'm then going to go back to the screen. Sorry, is it not full screen for you guys anymore? Sorry. Okay, I'm going to be starting a video.
Hello,
Sorry. Let's just go.
Relationship program for caregivers. So let's get started. What is Circle of Security? It's a program that was developed with the goal in mind of finding ways to enhance secure attachment in caregiving relationships. Because as caregivers, we all want to do the best we can. And of course, we want to have secure relationships with our children. But what does that mean to enhance secure attachment? So we all want to have secure relationships, but here's the problem. Children don't come with an owner's manual. And it can be hard to know how to respond to the difficult behaviors and how to manage them. And of course, every child is different. But here's the good news. Children are born experts on the Circle of Security. Circle of Security is like an owner's manual that's been written by your child. Learning how to use the Circle of Security helps us to figure out caring ways to get the job done. Because it's no secret, caregiving can be the hardest job on the planet. Having an owner's manual makes it easier to know the questions to ask that can help us find helpful answers. But sometimes when we're trying to make sense of what's going on with our children, the way we ask the question can get in our way of finding caring ways to help. What's wrong with my child? Why do they keep doing this? Why don't they listen? What does my child want from me? We all want to get it right, So what if we ask the question in a different way? The Circle of Security Roadmap helps us ask the question. Think about
I'm not sure where this music is coming from. Oh, no, it's coming from somewhere else. Okay. Sorry, maybe that was just on the video. It just seemed quite loud and overbearing. Let's go back then. Oh, sorry. It goes to. Sorry, my tech skills could be improved. Okay. Okay. Perhaps, yes, we can take a moment to pause the video there. Sorry, what do we have in the chat? Oh, goodness. Sorry, it was coming up my chat earlier, but now it is not. Yeah.
It seemed that quite a few people were having trouble with the sound. The
Yes,
sound was
that
cutting out
music,
on the video.
it's so weird. I've watched that video so many times and the music was never so loud.
No, ours wasn't loud at all. It just faded out totally.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. So, I mean, shall I start it from the beginning or shall we continue? And what we will do is then give everyone the link to watch the video, perhaps in their own time as well.
I think that's a better idea.
Okay. We will come back to the video, but then perhaps if the sound is still giving trouble, let me know and we can skip it. It just, yeah, it presents it in a really nice, concise way. However, if that sound's not working, I can talk you through it. So sorry, let me go back then. Okay. So part of, so it's based on attachment theory. I don't know how many of you were at Angie Chan's talk, but she gave us an introduction to secure and insecure attachment and how that impacts on a child. And that's the title of today's talk, is about how to set up your child for a healthy, happy life. Because if you look at this slide, the difference that makes a difference. After 60 years of research, we know that the more secure children with secure attachment, the more they're able to enjoy more happiness with their parents, feel less anger at their parents, turn to their parents for help when in trouble, solve problems on their own, get along better with friends, have lasting friendships, solve problems with friends, have better relationships with siblings, have higher self-esteem, know that most problems will have an answer, and trust that good things will come their way, as well as trust the people they love and know how to be kind to those around them. So, I mean, those 13 things seem pretty good to me. And yeah, I guess what I'd really like for my child and also for myself, I guess, with regards to being a parent, but also just to being a human, that I would like to know how to do those things. Okay, the founding principles of this Circle of Security, it's called COSP for short. So it's Circle of Security Parenting Intervention. Right? These founding principles are that attachment problems in infancy and early childhood increase the probability of psychopathology later on in life. I mean, I was going to change that word psychopathology, but I guess we can just think of like depression, anxiety, but that mostly insecure attachment is also, you know, well, if we go back to the previous slide, that you're not happy with your parents, that you feel angry with your parents, that you don't turn to people when you're in trouble, that you can't solve problems on your own, that you mostly have problems with relationships, friendships, siblings. The self-esteem one, I think, is a very big one, right? And so the circle of security, it's relevant even as adults and in your relationships with your friends, with your family, with your partner. So the second principle is that secure attachment relationships with caregivers are a protective factor for infants and preschoolers, setting the foundation for social competence and promoting effective functioning of the emotion regulation and stress response systems. So emotion regulation, if they are very distressed, if they feel completely overwhelmed, that they can calm themselves down, that they don't exist constantly in that fight, flight, fawn or freeze, right? That even when they do feel triggered, they're able to calm themselves down. And as adults, that we're able to calm ourselves down. The quality of the attachment relationship is amenable to change. So if you look back and you think, sure, I think I really had an insecure attachment with my parents or my caregivers, whoever brought me up, or my relationship with my partner is such that we have a problematic attachment style. You can change that. It's not set in stone, right? And if anything, it is dynamic and fluid, right? That we're not going to get it perfect or right all the time. Learning, including therapeutic change, so what happens in therapy, also occurs from within a secure base relationship. So for instance, if I'm working with clients, it's going to be very important that I develop a secure attachment with them. And then lasting change in the attachment relationship comes from caregivers developing specific relationship capacities rather than learning techniques to manage behavior. So the circle of security model is not about teaching you how to manage your child's behavior, right? It's rather a bigger framework for thinking about what's going on and what are your children's needs, what are your own needs, what comes up in yourself, and how does that impact on how you respond to your child or children. And very importantly, all caregivers want what's best for their children. The circle of security model is not a punitive one. It really puts a strong emphasis on supporting parents and not shaming us for when we get it wrong, and acknowledging that parents and caregivers and teachers also really, really need support. Okay, I'm going to go back to the video and let's see how the sound goes. If it's not working, please flag it for me. Either Sean can speak or in the chat perhaps, because it is important. I'll just jump to, sorry.
Hello, I'd like to introduce you to Circle of Security Parenting, a relationship program for caregivers. So let's get started. What is Circle of Security? It's a program that was developed with the goal in mind of finding ways to enhance secure attachment and caregiving relationships. Because as caregivers, we all want to do the best we can. And of course, we want to have secure relationships with our children. But what does that mean to enhance secure attachment? We all want to have secure relationships, but here's the problem. Children don't come with an owner's manual. And it can be hard to know how to respond to the difficult behaviors and how to manage them. And of course, every child is different. But here's the good news. Children are born experts on the Circle of Security. Circle of Security is like an owner's manual that's been written by your child. Learning how to use the Circle of Security helps us to figure out caring ways to get the job done. Because it's no secret, caregiving can be the hardest job on the planet. Having an owner's manual makes it easier to know the questions to ask that can help us find helpful answers. But sometimes when we're trying to make sense of what's going on with our children, the way we ask the question can get in our way of finding caring ways to help. What's wrong with my child? Why do they keep doing this? Why don't they listen? What does my child want from me? We all want to get it right. So what if we ask the question in a different way? The Circle of Security Roadmap helps us ask the question. Think about When we think about
It's begun cutting out again, Claire.
the way that we think about either start to use the circles, start to
Claire, the sound's gone again.
Okay. I don't know where that music is coming from. I'm actually going to, I don't know, turn off, just close any other tabs I have in case it's that menti.
We're not hearing music at all.
You're not hearing music.
No.
So when you don't hear the sound, maybe it's, I'm starting to hear music at that point. No one else is.
No.
Okay. That's very strange. Okay, I just wanted to try, see if I could move, yeah, the video along. Okay. Well, okay, shall we abandon the video, but I will send you the link because it's very nice. So I don't know, let's just go to, okay. Right, so this is basically, sorry, I see that some of this is also the spacing has moved around a little bit, but when we talk about the circle of security, it is a literal circle, right? And you'll see on the left, we've got the hands, right? The hands represent the parents, the secure base, and the safe haven, okay? And so the top of the circle is your child going out to explore the world, right? So it's really quite literal. You see the child with the wagon, and it says, I need you to support my exploration. And then there's the kid climbing the tree. It says, watch over me, delight in me, help me, and enjoy with me. Then you take a turn and the kid starts running back to the parents. And you'll see this, everyone, you will have seen it in the playground. It's quite literal where a child will go and play, and then either they'll come running back to you, or sometimes they'll just look up and want to see that you're watching, or they might say, hey, mom, dad, granny, look at me, look at me. They're just wanting a little bit of reassurance. So the bottom of the circle, the coming back in, it can be a literal coming back in, or it can just be a looking at you. Even in young babies, you might see this in like a 3-month-old, right, where they're looking all around, and that's their version of exploring because they're not that mobile. And then they'll look at mom to get some reassurance, or their caregiver, or their granny, or their dad, or whoever it might be. And then they'll look around again. Okay, so when the child turns the corner and needs to come back in, they need us to welcome them coming to us, right? And then next to the crying little kid, it says, protect me, comfort me, delight in me, and organize my feelings. And then underneath the hands, it says, to always be bigger, stronger, wiser, and kind. Whenever possible, follow your child's need, and wherever necessary, take charge. Is everyone okay and with me? Any questions before I continue? I will take silence as all good. Okay. Right. So this slide shows us, right, that the parent also needs to be held while holding the child. So we've got the small pair of hands, which is the parent, and then we've got the bigger hands, right, is what holds us as parents. So it might be your parents, the grandparents as a support for parents. It might be your partner. It might be other parent friends. It might be your religion, your church, your community. It might be the community of Hatfield Montessori, right? And hopefully that's reciprocal, that the teachers can feel supported by the parents and vice versa. If the parents are not okay, right, then this whole thing kind of falls apart, that it's very hard to be a safe haven and a secure base when you are grieving, when you are traumatized, when you've lost your job, or when you're getting divorced. It doesn't mean that you can't be a good parent, but of course it's going to be harder when you yourself are taking strain. So it's very important to try and look at what are the ways that we can all feel held and secure. That for us to be the secure base and the safe haven, we also need support. Right. So now, if you do get the circle, to think about, this is it, very, very simple. On the top of the circle is your child going out, and at the bottom of the circle is your child coming in. This will go for parents, this will go for teenagers, babies, preschoolers, the works. To try and think, as a parent, which part of the circle are you most comfortable in? Do you like it when your child goes off to explore, right? And they're independent and they're ambitious, right? Do you feel good about that? Or are you aware that actually you're a little bit risk averse, that sometimes you want to be there to catch them when they fall, that you wish you could protect them from every bad thing, that you think it's a dangerous world and you really wish they would stay closer? Okay, so to try and think about what evokes anxiety for you. For other people, you might have difficulty when your child is coming in. Maybe you feel that they're not independent enough. Maybe you feel like they're too clingy, too needy. And especially when we're tired parents and your child doesn't want to let go. So put that picture of the kid around the leg, that we all know what that's like, that sometimes it can feel overwhelming, right? It might not be clear. You might think that you're comfortable with both. It might be a whole lot more subtle, and it can also be very context dependent. Maybe generally you're fine with your child coming in, but this week has been a really, really tough week for you at work, and you're feeling particularly exhausted, and you're struggling with the coming in, right? Or it could be that you've been through a traumatic situation and you're struggling with the going out because you do feel like the world is unsafe and you're really worried that bad things are going to happen. The difficulty with this is that we can impact on our children based on what we're uncomfortable with, and then we can miscue them, right? So the circle of security, they talk about the limited top, right? So for instance, when our child is maybe a natural explorer, they want to go out, they want to explore, but we're a parent or a caregiver or a teacher who's uncomfortable with that. So what might happen, because we're uncomfortable, is that we miscue the child. This could even be unconscious, right? It's like just that we can't actually see what our child needs, that they actually need our support to go and explore. But we might say something like, it looks like you're a little bit scared there. I think, don't climb up the jungle gym. It's very dangerous. Or, oh, I think you just want to stay with mommy today, don't you? Yes, I think you just want to sit on my lap. You don't want to go play with the other children. That's okay, my girl. Come stay with mom, right? So if I'm a mom who needs my child to stay close to me, and even if my child is a natural explorer, she might get that message that I need her close to me, and she might then stay close to me, even when actually she would like to be exploring. Okay. If you have any questions at any point, please feel free to stop or to put it in the chat. Otherwise, there will be time for questions at the end. Okay. All right. I'm going to assume that's good for me to continue then. All right. So that's the limited top. And then the limited bottom, right, is when your child needs to come in for comfort or protection. They want to come back. They want reassurance. They want a hug. However, you're the kind of parent that doesn't like people to be too clingy, right? That you might see it as weak, right? You're not comfortable with it. And so then we're going to, again, miscue the child. Like they might be looking at us for reassurance and we're not looking at them, right? We're distracted, or we say things like, don't cry, be a big boy, be a good big girl, you're so brave, you're so strong, you can do it. And so the child acts like they want to explore and they need to be distant. but what they'd really like would be to come cuddle up in your lap. Okay, so that's why it's important that we know what evokes discomfort in us, and to make sure that we are attuned to the child's real needs rather than the child is reflecting our needs. Okay. So while this can feel somewhat complicated, we always can just come back to this, right? Everything we need to know about supporting security in 25 words or less. We've got the top of the circle, we've got the bottom of the circle. To support your child when they go out on top, they want to explore, and to support them when they come back at the bottom. And then to always be bigger, stronger, wiser, and kind. Whenever possible, to follow my child's need, and whenever necessary, to take charge. So I was trying to think of examples of the circle today, and I guess as I was preparing for this presentation, and you can look for examples in your own life. Our struggle at the moment is that my daughter Noah doesn't like to wear warm clothes, and the temperature is dropping. And it does warm up in the day, and I know school can be quite sunny. However, in the morning, we especially wanted to be dressed warmly, and she doesn't want to. And I was thinking, okay, where on the circle is that? And I figured, okay, it's her independence, right? She's going out. And typically I'm fine with her going out on the circle. But in this case, if I'm going to be bigger, stronger, wiser, kind, to be wise is like, okay, but it is cold and you do need to wear warm clothes, right? So when possible, I follow my child's need. If she wants to wear, I don't know, holy pants or pajamas to school, you might have your own ideas about that, but I'm like, okay, that's fine. You want to wear mismatched an outfit, that's fine. I will follow her need. That's her need for creativity and to assert her autonomy. However, when she needs to be warm, then you need to take charge, right? So sometimes that doesn't mean, like, if your child disagrees with you, it doesn't mean you're not attuned to their needs. Sometimes it's our job to be the parents, to be bigger, stronger, wiser, and kind. I'm not going to do that at the moment. I don't know if you caught this in the video, that there's no such thing as perfect parenting. All of us are going to struggle sometimes. And we've learned at the Circle of Security that good enough is good enough, right? To think about, what is it like to hear that message? You do not have to be perfect. Good enough also comes from a old school, now dead psychologist called Donald Winnicott. Actually, he was a doctor, not a psychologist. And I think he even said something like, you only need to really get it right. Don't quote me on this, but I think 1/3 of the time, right? So there's room for mistakes. But if, maybe it's more than 1/3, but if you're good enough most of the time, then your child will have a secure attachment. If you understand them and meet their needs most of the time, right, they will have a secure attachment. You don't have to be perfect. There is no such thing. Okay. I'm sure you're in need of a holiday. I know I am, right? I'd like you to look at this beach scene and think about what comes to mind as you look at the image. And then also think about, we got Beach Boys for some beach music. I'm just going to give us a bit of a soundtrack.
Not playing for me.
Could you hear that music?
No.
No. Oh, there must be something wrong with my settings. Okay, right. But you can see the beach.
Yes, beautiful.
Okay, beautiful beach, right? Imagine your soundtrack of choice, right? I put the Beach Boys. I'm like, maybe this is a bit dated. Maybe this is a bit American. Maybe this is a bit white. But yeah, think about your song, right? Oh, sorry. Okay. And then the idea here is to think about what that feels like and how it feels. And then the next slide, I'm not going to play the music because it seems like it's not working. is the Jaws soundtrack. Again, a dated reference, but for those of you who have seen Jaws or have heard of it, think about scary music playing, right? And it's a beach scene, and how you might experience that differently. Okay, everyone with me still? Okay, unfortunately I didn't get to play you the Beach Boys and the Jaws music, but think about it. The idea is that we all have a soundtrack, an inner soundtrack, right, to our lives. And sometimes what happens with our children is that our own soundtrack overshadows what's going on, right? So maybe it's actually a peaceful beach scene, but I'm hearing that Jaws music. Okay, I'm hearing that ominous, scary music, and I'm waiting for the shark attack. But actually, there's not going to be a shark attack, right? So yes, there are lovely examples in the video. It's like my child gets angry, but I was taught by my father that anger is never allowed. Okay, that anger is bad, or that perhaps, you know, he got angry and he got violent. So I'm very scared of anger, and therefore I'm not okay with my child expressing their anger. In Circle of Security, they call it shark music, right? So think about that, dun it, Jaws scary music, right? That the shark is going to come and bite us. To think about, what is our own shark music? What are our triggers? Is it anger? Is it sadness? Is it the top of the circle? Is it the bottom of the circle? And then that shark music is going to impact on us. So what are the things that trigger us? So Circle of Security is done all over the world, and the people that trained me were from Scandinavia. And they told a story that apparently, like in Sweden and Norway, so many people do the Circle of Security training that it's become very well known and normalized. And so everyone knows this term shark music. And I guess they didn't call it Jaws music because of copyright. That there was a toddler having a big tantrum in a shopping center, and the dad was standing there watching this and was just saying shark music to themselves, because that was a trigger for him. And he's like, okay, I need to know this is my shark music, and I don't need to play the scary soundtrack. Maybe that's my stuff, and it's not my kid's stuff. Okay, so I hope that does make sense, but there is another video that you can go watch about being with and shark music, considering our videos are not playing. So to watch those videos, I mean, you can just go Google Circle of Security, but this is the website, circleofsecurityinternational.com. And there is a book called How to Raise a Secure Child, right? Which, contains a lot of the lessons, I guess, the concepts of the training. So I talk about this training. It's, I think, an 8-session model, which I'm not trying to punt. You probably can find facilitators, in Gauteng and Pretoria and Joburg. They've done training throughout the country, but you can also just watch the videos, which I think are awesome, and get this book. If you wanted a follow-up from me, I'd be happy to provide that. If anyone really wanted like the 8-week course, I guess we could think about that. You can order this, I think, from Loot. It maybe takes about, I don't know, 3 to 4 weeks because it's from overseas, but I did manage to just get the audio book on Audible, I think, Raising a Secure Child. I didn't love the narrator's voice, but I did find the content very helpful and good. There's a lot of examples. Okay. That's all from me. I did have another, the video was long, but we lost a big chunk of it. And I did have some more Mentimeter questions to get your feedback if you'd like. I guess, I don't know how many people have got Mentimeter, or if there's anyone who would like to vocally ask questions or put it in the chat. I guess I'm familiar with the content. It was a bit brief. Yes, it was a bit brief.